Hello students. In this video, we are going to see the properties of matter. Now when I talk about properties, what type of properties we are talking about? So students, when you observe matter from outside, we make out some conclusions by seeing the external properties of that particular substance. So the properties which can be measured by observation without changing the chemical composition of the substance, we call such properties as physical properties. So let us write down what are the first type of the property, and they are physical properties. So properties which can be measured or observed externally without changing their chemical composition. So they are called as physical properties. Now the question is, what type of properties can be categorized under physical properties? Now students, if a substance is given to you, what all properties you can measure? The first and the immediate is its color, then its odor. You can go for its melting point or boiling point. Depends if it is a solid or a liquid. So you can go for melting point, boiling point. Then you can see its nature, whether it is hygroscopic or it is deliquescent. Next you can find out its density. So you are not changing the chemical composition and you are just observing it externally. So they are called as physical properties. Now the second type of properties, they are chemical properties. What you do in chemical properties, student, you react the substance with some of the agents like oxygen or any acid or a base, and you completely change the chemical composition and then study its properties. Such properties, we categorize them under chemical properties. In short, by carrying out a reaction, we observe the change in the properties. So what are chemical properties, student? Chemical properties are those where the substance undergoes a chemical change and it exhibits change in its chemical composition. Best example what I can give here is carbon. When I combine that with oxygen, you can call this as oxidation or combustion reaction. You get carbon dioxide. So here carbon is completely getting changed to carbon dioxide. Or I can take magnesium and I burn it in oxygen. What I get is MgO. So this type of reactions where the oxidation or the complete chemical composition changes, they are called as chemical properties. Now let us see the physical properties one by one. So the physical property, the first what we are going to see is mass and weight. So the first physical property is mass and weight. We know, students, that we have defined matter, anything that has mass. So matter has mass. And therefore it is important for this physical quantity to be measured. So mass is an inherent property. Of matter. Now this is measured. How you measure this, student? You measure this in kg, or you measure this in gram. Those are the units what we usually use for mass. So students, mass is a measure of, so I'll write here, quantity of matter a body contains. Right students? And the mass of body, or I will write it, does not changes with position. On the other hand, if I see weight, so this is what we have seen is for mass. Now let us go for weight. Weight of a body is a result of mass and gravitational attraction. The weight of the body changes because the gravitational attraction of the earth for the body varies. What it means, student? As the distance from the center of the earth, it changes, the weight of that substance also changes. The best example for this, or let us first see the mass. Now this is a very important statement. The mass of a body is more fundamental property than its weight. Now let us see how this weight and mass changes with the distance. As I said, student, that the mass of a body remains constant irrespective of its position, but the weight of a body depends on its position. Therefore, there is less gravitational pull on moon as compared to earth, and hence an object will have smaller weight or lesser weight on moon as compared to that of earth. And there is no gravitational force in deep outer surface, and therefore the weight is zero. So let us see what that means. Now suppose, student, I have this is, I can just show a rough diagram. This is your earth and the body is somewhere here. So if I say that the mass is 1 kg, weight is also 1 kg. Now the body has come closer to the earth. So here, now if I say this is earth, now let us call this as moon. So what is the mass here? Mass is 1 kg and here weight is 0.17 kg. This is moon, student. Now if I go deep outer space, if I move on to deep outer space, then what will happen? Deep outer space, then mass is equal to 1 kg, but the weight is equal to 0 kg. So this is, if you want to feel better, healthy, what you can do is you can measure your weight instead the mass. So this is what the change is. On earth, if you are weighing 1 kg, on moon it might be 0.17 kg, while if you go deep outer space, then the weight can be 0. So this is what the difference is, because it depends upon the gravitational attraction. So what is the SI unit of mass? Student, SI unit here is kg. So you need not use a full stop here. So only the unit is kg. This is the SI unit, and sometimes we use the fractional quantities. For that we use, or fractional unit is also sometimes used. So that unit is gram. So this is gram. It is also used. You know that 1 kg is equal to 1000 gram. So this is what again you have to remember for the calculations. Let us go to the second physical property, and that is length. Actually, in chemistry, now where we are going to measure the distance. So students, if you see the distance between two atoms, like this, from the center of the nucleus, we call this as bond length. So the first where we measure the length is the bond length. Or if I want to measure the atomic radii, means the center of the nucleus up to the valence shell electron, then I need to measure the size of the atom, the radii of the atom, size of the nuclei, and I can't measure them in kilometer or meter. And for that, again, we need some of the fractional units, that is nanometer, picometer. So where we use, or we come across this length property, where students, we come across this in atomic radii or radius, bond length, wavelength of electromagnetic radiations, size of the nucleus, size of the atom. Then we have the bond lengths, what we say as the distance between them, between the two atoms. So this type of distance we need to measure, and these quantities, they are very, very small. And therefore, we use the fractional units of the SI unit of length, and they are nanometer, represented by nm. You have picometer, that is pm. So this type of units, they are used. You have to remember 1 nanometer is equal to 10 raised to minus 9 meter, and 1 picometer is equal to 10 raised to minus 12 meter. You have to learn the conversion, student, because they are very, very important. So this is what the unit conversion is. Next is volume. What is volume, student? It is the amount of space occupied. So amount of space occupied by a three-dimensional object. It does not depend upon the shape. For measurement of volume, usually we measure the volume for, or we use this for liquids and gases. So for liquids and gases, the common unit what we use, so what is the unit, student? Unit is liter or milliliter. So those are the units what we use. So let us see the conversion, student. 1 liter means 1 dm cube. So meaning is same. 1 liter means 1 dm cube, which is equal to 1000 milliliter. Milliliter is same like cubic centimeter. So I can say that is equal to 1000 cubic centimeter. So those unit conversions, they are very, very important. How I can go for this 1000 cubic centimeter, student? 1000 cubic centimeter is equal to, you know, volume is L cube. So it will be 10 cm into 10 cm into 10 cm. So this is how you can split. So what is the SI unit of volume? So SI unit of volume is cubic meter. Or you simply write this as m cube. So this is about the volume. Now the question is, other than measuring the liquids and the gases, where we use this volume units, So students, in your practicals, when you carry out the qualitative, quantitative or gravimetric analysis, that time we use some glasswares. And those glasswares, they are graduated. What is the meaning of graduated, student? They are having some markings. And those markings gives the capacity of that apparatus. Capacity means volume. So different kinds of glasswares, as I said, they are used. Let us take one of the example, and that is the measuring cylinder. How the measuring cylinder looks like, student? It is like a test tube, but it is a stand like this. It is having a stand and there is an opening at the top. And you have the markings here in this way. So they are called as graduations. So what is the capacity of this measuring cylinder is given on it is a glassware, so it is marked on the glass. So depending upon, starting from here, say I say 10 and it is 50, so the capacity of this measuring cylinder is 50 milliliter. So this is the first one, that is we call it as graduated cylinder. Second is the conical flask, what you use. How the conical flask looks like is this. Now on this, they have written 5 ml or 10 ml and a marking is given onto this. So what is its capacity, student? This is capacity is 5 milliliter. This is called a conical flask. Next you have the burette. What you see in burette, it is again a tube which is graduated and it has a opening like this here, through which the solution can be poured and it can be removed from this end for titration. And again this is graduated. So this is what you call it as the burette. So depending upon the capacity of the burette, you have 100 ml burette, 200 ml burette. So this type of burettes where we see those graduations which represents the volume or the capacity of that glassware. Next is pipette. What is that pipette looks like is this. So this is again a glassware which is used for titration. And the pipette looks like this. Now what you have here, this is the safety bulb. And here the capacity is written, say for example 5 ml or 10 ml, 25 ml. So this type it is a pipette. Now students, this is used to suck the solution and then after sucking this you pour it into the conical flask for titration, or you can use a graduated cylinder. This is a safety bulb, means while sucking the liquid or the acid or the solution should not come in your mouth, and so this is called as a safety bulb. So this is a pipette. Next, what very important graduated vessel is the volumetric flask. Now how the volumetric flask looks like is this. It has something a base beaker like this. So this is how it looks like, a opening, and this is again having a marking. It gives you 250 ml or 1 liter, this type of volumetric flask you have. So this is volumetric flask. Similarly, you have round bottom flask. You have test tubes also, which are sometimes graduated. So you have a test tube, which is a 5 ml test tube where you have the graduations. So this type of instruments or the glasswares we use in the lab while carrying out the practicals. And this is the physical property which is measured, and that is volume. So those are the glasswares which are used to measure volume. Let us move on to the next property, and that is density. What is density? Density of a substance is mass per unit volume. Now it is determined again in the lab by measuring the mass and the volume and then making a ratio of that, we get the density. So what is density is equals to? So density is equal to mass upon volume. So what is the SI unit of mass, student? SI unit here, I will take that as kg, and the SI unit of volume is cubic meter, and therefore the unit becomes kg per cubic meter, or we can write the same unit kg per cubic meter. So the unit of density is kg per cubic meter. If I want the CGS, that is CGS system unit, then it will be gram per ml. Unit of mass is taken as gram and unit of volume is taken as ml. So what will be the unit, student? Gram milliliter inverse or gram per milliliter. So this is how you measure density. And density is a ratio of mass to volume. So you have to first go for mass, what we have already seen, and volume, what we have seen. Take a ratio of that, you will get density. So this is how you get density. Now let us see the next physical property, that is temperature. Now students, let us see the next property, that is temperature. Students, you know that whenever we say temperature, means you just relate that to anything which is hot. But here, if I take ice, then it has a temperature. If I take a burning coal, then again it has a temperature. So in short, we say that temperature, it is the degree of hotness or coldness of a body. So I don't say that if I say that the temperature is there, means the body should be hot. It can be cold also. So it is the degree of hotness or coldness of any body or substance. Now usually those temperature we define or we use the unit as degree Celsius. So how we write that? Degree Celsius. So degree, I am writing the word here. So it is Celsius. Then you have degree Fahrenheit. So it is degree and capital F. This is called degree Fahrenheit. And K, that is Kelvin. So those are the units what we use. But the unit what we use as a standard SI unit is Kelvin. Then if degree is given, how we convert it to Fahrenheit or how we convert that to Kelvin? So let us see some of the calculations and the formulas. So the first formula, so degree Fahrenheit, if you want to calculate, then it is equal to 9/5 degree Celsius plus 32. And degree Celsius is equal to 5/9 in bracket degree Fahrenheit minus 32. So if you want to convert degree Celsius to degree Fahrenheit, we use this formula. And if you want to convert degree Fahrenheit to degree Celsius, we use this formula. It's based on this. So let us convert 30 degree Celsius to degree Fahrenheit. Now I want to convert 30 degrees Celsius to degree Fahrenheit. So I'll be using this formula. So it will be 9/5 into 30 plus 32. So this will come to 54 plus 32. So it will be 86 degree Fahrenheit. So this is your answer, the conversion. Let us take one more problem. So degree Celsius, if I want to convert, so this is the first one. Now I will go for degree Fahrenheit conversion. So 96 degree Fahrenheit, let us convert this to degree Celsius. So the formula will be the above formula. So it will be 5/9 and it will be 96 minus 32. So that is equal to 5/9 into 64, that is equal to 35.55. So this is your answer. The unit what you will place here is degree Celsius. Now students, as I said that we use only the Kelvin unit as the SI unit, then how to convert that? So here degree Celsius can be converted to Kelvin if I add 200 273.15 to the degree Celsius value. So, to convert degree Celsius to Kelvin, we add 273.15 to degree Celsius value. To convert Kelvin to degree Celsius, we subtract 273.15 from Kelvin value. So those particular conversions, they are very, very important. You must know the conversions. Now let us take for example, if I have 25 degrees Celsius and I want to convert this to Kelvin, then how I will do this? That is equal to 273.15 plus 25 will give me the value in Kelvin. So this will be 298.25. Now the unit is Kelvin. One very important thing, student, you should never use degree Kelvin for the unit. For example, if I am writing 27 Kelvin, so this is the correct way to write the unit, and 27 degree Kelvin, so this is a wrong way. You never use degree here when you are using Kelvin. We use this degree only for Celsius and Fahrenheit, and that's degree Celsius. C is also small. So this is all about the physical properties. I hope you liked the video. So please do subscribe my channel and share the video with your friends. Thank you, students.